Ladies and gentlemen, the books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossi Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards, available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to the Mossi Warrior Clan YouTube channel. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we're in the building. Of course, let me see who we have here. What up, BBO, Juju, Kanan, Omar. What's good, y'all? Peace to all the people who may catch the replay. I'm gonna give it about a few before we get started. And I want to talk about something real quick. Let me share my screen. And I want to do this for my Mossi Warrior Clan brother, Fortune Fave. He dropped an EP the other day on iTunes. And I know a lot of y'all, y'all don't get to see him, right? But he's been shooting movies and documentaries and stuff like that. And, he also released this. He ain't the only one. Kofi just dropped a book. Y'all know what that book is called, right? Beautiful Lessons of Kimoyo. Make sure y'all go get that, cop that. But I'm gonna give y'all a little sample of Brother Fortune's music while people are coming into the building. All right, I'm not gonna play Young Black Kings. I think that's already on the website. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this, couple seconds of each.
Here we go.
Like the show, share the show, get your people in the building.
Young niggas don't give a fuck about police. We go and terrorize the streets. I shoot aiming down the loop, then Gotti Miz loop this beat. Niggas think I'm pussy, but I caught her ass meat. Porterhouse steak, strawberry shakes, how rappers look to me. Nigga is fireproof, lukewarm, broke as fuck, house shoes on. Leave a corpse fucked in the aqueduct. Nuke bomb, the underground to the upper ground. Rappers running up and rolling out in a hover round. Fuck the loud, bullet smoke, razzing out your willy coat. Exit wounds from your throat. Excess rhymes that I wrote. Remember times that I rode public transportation, shit I still do. Every car I get the city taking hit, every killing is blatant.
Alright, a little bit of that.
Yeah. It's so real. So real. Yeah. I'm subhuman. What kind of woman wanna love a mutant? Resort to me after these thugs use them. My bedroom is a strange ruin. Last time I hit a chick was King Drab and she ain't done suing. I'm done doing wasted years, I'm ruined. I attempt to shoot and score, but it's my destiny to be a troubadour. A true whore, I'm like a Labrador. Retriever receiving the red flag matador. I'm mad at the world. I was betrayed, I was a savage to bedazzle a girl. Stiletto heels and sew-ins, I would lavish her. Told me I was off trying to romance her, I should ravish her. World around, left me for a real niggas, the word around. World
I can't give y'all the whole thing.
Masterpiece.
Like the show, share the show. Come on, we listening to Fortune Fade.
I fuck with girls that keep they mad on that duh-oh. Ones you can never categorize as her-oh-ohs. Might even let her have my son if she acting right. That's that shit that we like. We don't fuck with them ratchet ties. I know Ice and she a typist for the final call. You never catch her off that Molly or that alcohol. Tanisha poked me on the book, she ain't never phony. I catch Monica volunteering at the Wild Stony. I got this sweetie named Winnie from Papua New Guinea, sending me chocolates and mini bottles of Moet and Henny. 19 driving the.
I told you I can't give y'all that. Man, support Fortune. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Fortune dropped the EP. He's Mossi Warrior Clan all day, every day. You seen him on there repping with Garfield. You seen him on other platforms, getting that work in, right in the shy. Fortune Fave is John Avery's on iTunes. Get this work. Come on now. Y'all got to support him. Don't do us like that. Support him. iTunes tripping now.
Oh, man.
Get the likes up. Get the shares up.
Can I dedicate this to you so-called rammers out there? Y'all know who y'all are. I just wanna give y'all a little taste of what I like to do on my side of town. Check it. Check this out. Yo. Niggas all for roofie if they sleeping on me. You doing Molly? Are you drunk? You in the steampunk machine gun funk? I flunked grammar school, dropped out of high school. Corrupt as music industry tip me to give my music to my enemies. Get bars for every leg that's on the millipede. The ghetto set hatred and expectations that I still exceed. I gotta be something. I gotta be bumped in your music apparatus. Even if my shit go more over your head than your hat is. Climb a spiritual mountain, make metaphysical pyramids. Your lyrical nemesis, nigga. Lyrical gymnast, how I monkey bars and bring y'all to my wickedness. Y'all only butcher sentences and put in more emphasis. I'm the Aquarius lyricist, feel like I'm strange. Not niggas kissing lips deranged. The real, you're derelict. To this country, I'm separatist. I want bitches with hair like Pocahontas. To the kinky conscious, Genghis Khan, the modest body, finest of a kind, the fine trap. Humble, but I get brolic, bad with diabolic mass likewise. It's black economics, every sunrise. I'm always on some shit to leave me tongue-tied. Come Lord me, make bitches come louder. I come out or come Lordy alumni. Pimping like an Arab in your hood owning shops. But I'm in niggas' cribs like ribs and cinnamon chops. Kool-Aid and ribble flapping. I'ma let you niggas have it. Nigga, I got some shit to make fire, divorce, and drag it. What other cats you know they got this wicked, rugged, ratchet flow? The record, record, trekker, peck away at niggas, matches mode. React fast as a ratchet blow. 61st, 62nd, cottage grove, animal. Niggas start to contort and reconsider what they bought. You die cause you're dying, so the effects of this fresh pork. Fortune 500.
You heard him. You heard him say his name. Fortune 500. You heard him. Listen, man. Support our Mossi Warrior Clan brother, Fortune Fave. Please. Just go on to iTunes. Pull up John Avery's. Download it. It's free. If you got the iTunes app, you know the iTunes will let you stream it. You pay $10 a month for it or whatever. But then don't just stream it free. Patronize the brother and buy it. Why? Because he put in his work. And it ain't that much as an EP. He gonna give you your money's worth. So again, before we get started with the show, man, please like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we live. We back on our African culture side. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Mandinka people. We're going to get into a little bit about what Kofi is explaining in his book, Kamoyo, right? Because y'all do have this book, though, right? You do have this book. You do have this book, though, right? This book? This book. You don't? I do. I got two. I got two. What my camera looking like? Oh, I got some fingerprints on my lens. Let me chill it out a little bit. Let me go there. Bag a little bit. Stream look a little hazy. So in Kamoyo, he walks you through the whole process. He gets into the traditions and the reason why it's redefined. You need to make sure you get the book, because what we're going to do today is we're actually going to pull out some of the things Kofi talks about in his book, but we're actually going to use them in Mandinka specifically. Even though they're widespread and they're a variety of people, one of the largest, you know what I mean? They're one of the largest, but they're spread out. They're widespread from Senegal to Gambia, all the way to Mali. You know what I'm saying? Rocking like that. They go, you know, they starting from the Atlantic coast and going all the way near the Fulani, the Fula area with them people. And you know where they at? The Fulani down there by Nigeria. So think about the, you know, now what separates them when they're in these other places is, you know, culture differences and similarities and things of that nature. That's what makes West Africa unique. But we're going to see portions or parts of Kimoyo in this presentation. So I'm just waiting a minute. I want, you know, like the show, share the show, and we're gonna get it to the bill. Come on, y'all. We can get some more people in here. We on the Mossi Warrior Clan. We talk African culture over here. West Africa. Big up. What up, Saru? Peace. Nunu, I see you in the building. I see Niger Valley in here. I see the #1 troll in the building. Appreciate you last night. Nzinga, peace. Peace again to Lafayette Ni, Lafayette, and Boca. Yeah. I don't know what Zane at, but Zane hop in the building. Peace, brother Zane. I know you're gonna appear. It might be later, something like that. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So yeah, get your, like Kofi say, get your pen and piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Look, I could share on Facebook, but you know they're gonna put me in jail. So I think I met my Facebook share threshold. But I also know I'm competing with Brother Garfield because he live. So it is what it is. We're going to deal with this African culture over here. And, you know, y'all can go over there and talk Israelites right now. So let me go ahead and get started. All right. So actually, before I get started, there is something that I need to do. Because if I just did this on the strength of, I forgot to add this in. So y'all finna see me do this live, and I really don't even care. Boom, boom, boom. Y'all know what I forgot. I just thought about it. All right, copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Let's get into the Mandinka by yours truly. So here's an outline: introduction, research, question, hypothesis, definition, conclusion, sources. It's not big on definitions, although I could, but I just only wanted to stress one, and that was just the name Mandinka. So we hear stories of the past that always equate to how African Americans were enslaved, kidnapped, and brought to the New World. Within that enslavement brought about psychological, cultural, linguistic, and traditional changes. This presentation sets out to help one reclaim the cultural understanding of the past, right? So research questions, of course, who are the Mandinka? How was the village life in the Mandinka, life of the Mandinka? And what can we learn from them specifically? My hypothesis is many recent years ago, the Mandinka, like many West African tribes, were forced to be displaced across the world, and that enslavement, a lot of traditional and cultural practices over time would be lost. I'm of the belief that the Mandinka expressed themselves in a unique manner that could be different than most West African countries despite similarities. The Mandinka, I believe, are partly responsible for the rise of West African greatness. However, by studying their village life, we can get a clear indication of the life in West Africa as a whole. I believe we can learn a lot from the Mandinka, which may explain life pre and post enslavement. So again, Mandinka is just a simple term, thus refers either to a person or a people. It's pluralized within itself. You know what I'm saying? When you refer to the Mandinka, you could be talking about a person. Are you Mandinka? Or you could be referring to a people. It's generalized and broad based on that. Now, let's go. The very first Portuguese ships to reach Black Africa captured slaves. When Denis Diaz landed in 1442 on Cape Verde, the westernmost point in Africa, he imprisoned 4 men who came to meet the boat. By 1446, the Portuguese under Álvaro Fernandes had voyaged a few hundred miles further south and reached the Gambia and the Casamance, two great rivers running through the heart of Mandinka country. The number of Mandinka who were eventually became victims of the Atlantic slave trade were probably never were used somewhat indiscriminate by the traders and may have sometimes indicated geographic region rather than ethnic group. The historian Philip Curtin recognizes this difficulty and arrives at a very tentative projection of the ethnic and regional percentages. In the quarter century, 1525 and 1550, he projects that roughly 8% of the slaves taken from Africa to Latin America and the Caribbean were Mandinka, and that the Senegambia as a region provided about 38% of the slaves that came to the New World. Slaves were not transported to America until 1619, so they would either end up in South America or the Caribbean. By the 18th century, the Senegambia provided decreasing percentages, dropping to less than 1% of the African total by 1810. So who are the Mandinka? Informants recount with considerable pride that their ancestors came from Manding. This is a local name for the ancient Mali Empire, whose heartland lies in the present-day Mali. Indeed, the name Mandinka means those from Manding. Teachers cite ancient Mali as an example of a major Black African civilization. At its height, about 1300, this empire occupied much of the northern half of West Africa. The famous medieval University of Timbuktu was within its borders, and elsewhere in the empire, mines yielded substantial quantities of gold. Arabic geographers have recorded that in 1324, the empire of Mali, Mansa Musa, caused a sensation during a pilgrimage through Egypt by distributing large amounts of gold among the populace. Fortunately, a very considerable body of Arabic accounts of Mali have been examined by Nehemiah Lepsian and others, and a record of this empire is now more accessible. Legend has it that the first Mandinka immigrants to the Gambia and Kasama River areas were warriors led by Tirama'akan Traore. Now, Tirama'akan is held to have been an important war chief of Sundiata, the legendary king who unified fragment villages and found Mali Empire sometime during the first half of the 13th century. From the 13th through the 17th century, the Mali Empire expanded into Senegambia, and more than 20 Mandinka kingdoms were founded along the Gambia and Kasama rivers. Now, 15th century Portuguese explorers reported that these kingdoms paid tribute to the Empire of Mali. Then in the 16th century, the Mandinka Empire of Kabul rose in importance. This empire, lying mostly in present-day Guinea-Bissau, began as part of a larger Mali system. but at various times from the 16th through the 18th centuries exerted influence over the smaller Senegambian kingdoms. During the 19th century, these were the kingdoms that were subjugated by the British in Gambia and the French in Senegal and incorporated into their two respective colonial systems. Because of how the Mandinka spread in this presentation, and according to our sources, we will concentrate on the Pokiao and the villages that reside inside. Here we go. Here's an image of Pokiao. Digital image. Nice, beautiful grasslands you see right there. You know what I'm saying? You know, Senegal region, Senegal and Gambian region, right? Fresh near the Atlantic. Now, Pokiao lies on the upper reaches of the Kasama River in southern Senegal. It is about 60 miles south of the Gambia River and 90 miles southeast of Fufor, the village where Alex Haley claims ancestry. The Mandinka language of the former kingdoms along the Gambia and Kasama rivers is virtually the same, with some differences in accent. The social institutions of Pokiao are probably typical for the region, but I would not be surprised to hear of some variations and differences as additional fieldwork in other kingdoms is pursued. So here's an image of the Casamance River in Senegal. Yep. And that's the card right there specifically. So the river stretched pretty nicely. Now, Pokiao is unusual among these other areas in terms of how the high degree of Islamic specialization among its people. Its self-concept is that of Muslim Holy Land. This belief is based on a number of factors, including visits made by many foreign pilgrims from Gambia and other parts of Senegal. The prayers of interdiction uttered by Pokiao marabouts are thought to have great power. A marabout, pronounced marabout, is a trained cleric who specializes in religious, magical functions. There are many such persons in each Pokiao village. Locally, the Mosque of Pokiao are thought to be the oldest among the former Mandinka kingdoms. In 1843 or 44, Pokiao was responsible for launching the first successful indigenous jihad in the region. A jihad is a Muslim holy war waged for the purposes of winning new converts by force if necessary and destroying non-believers if they are unwilling to accept Islam. By 1850, Pokiao appears to have converted to Islam almost entirely. Earlier than other Mandinka kingdoms in the area, this fact alone makes it a good community to examine the changes brought about by Islam as well as durability of certain pre-Islamic customs. Now, as Muslims, of course, the Mandinka shed a religion of Islam with a great many peoples living roughly in a band stretching across Africa immediately south of the Sahara. There are nevertheless many different variations of Islam, depending on the ethnic group. One very pervasive Mandinka institution seems to contradict Islam's prohibitions against graven images. This is a secret society organized around a mask wearer who adorns himself in a bark custom. Now, similar cults are reported for the Malinke of eastern Senegal, the Bambara of Mali, and certain other West African peoples related to the same Mandin ethnic and cultural group. As they open themselves up to strangers, the Mandinka are not a particular dramatic people. The lives of young men seem dominated by the drudgery of rudimentary farming, punctuated by prayer 5 times daily, and by long hours of basket weaving during the winter months as harvesting is completed. Young women are occupied by cooking, washing clothes, caring for their babies, praying 5 times a day, although not in a mosque, and the arduous physical labor of rice cultivation during the rainy season. As I acquired the fluency in the language, the sense of drama in the society increased. The Mandinka are intensely religious and intellectual. Their rich language is perhaps best expressed in complex proverbs, riddles, historical legends, symbolically obscure circumcision songs. Islamic morality culture is not unimportant to them. Now, the Mandinka also have a cult centered around the kangaroo, The kangaroo is a portrayal of a demon figure by a masked wearer who covers his body with blood red bark of the forest tree. The figure referred to conveniently as a mask is accorded great power and is important in social control. Now, the kangaroo, well, I'm saying kangaroo, is an initiatory rite practiced throughout the Manding provinces of Senegal and Gambia, mainly corresponding to the Casamance and in the city of Mbour. According to the tradition, the origin of the kangaroo is to be found in the Como, a secret society of hunters whose organization and esoteric practices contributed to the emergence of the Manding. The central character of the kangaroo is an initiative who wears a mask made of the bark and the red fiber of the farra tree and is clothed in leaves. His body painted with vegetable dyes. He is associated with circumcision ceremonies and initiatory rites. His appearance is marked by several ritual stages, the designation of the initiate who will wear the mask, and his investor by the elders. Now, his retreat into the woods with the initiates, the vigils, and the processions through the hamlet of the new initiates. The whole ritual generally takes place between August and September. Now, the kangaroo always parades surrounded by the former initiates and the villagers who respectively follow his behavior and gestures and perform dances and songs. His displays are punctuated with a stacco dance, and he yields 2 machetes and utters piercing cries. His followers, armed with sticks and room palm leaves, beat out the rhythm with their choruses and tom-toms. Continuing. Now, the kangaroo is the guarantor of order and injustice as well as the exorcist of evil spirits. As such, he ensures transmission and teaching of complex collection of know-how and practices underpinning Manding cultural identity. A ritual that has spread to other communities and groups in the area. It is occasion for young circumcised boys to learn the rules of behavior for the order in their community. The secrets of plants and their medicinal values and hunting techniques. Their traditional practices is in the retreat because of the rapid urbanization of most regions of Senegal and Gambia and a decreasing extent of the sacred forests which are transformed into cultivated land. As a result, the ritual is tribalized as the kangaroo authority is undermined. Now, let's take a look. They go some images of the initiates, boys, of course, right? They're getting ready to be circumcised and all of that. They in the bush. And then we have images of what I basically just described. You see in the background, you got some dudes with some sticks and things of that nature. They beat to a rhythm. But they got all the boys in the circle in the middle of it, in a little thing, and he going through with his blades, as you can see. He got them 2. Dude, get away. He got them 2 swords right there, or daggers. He ready to go do his thing. There they go off in the bush again with initiates. So you know they getting ready for everything that they got going on.
The Kankurang is an initiatory rite practiced throughout the Manding provinces of Senegal and Gambia, mainly in the Casamance area and in the city of Mbour. This ritual has spread to other communities and groups in the area. It encourages young circumcised boys to learn the rules of behavior for the ordering of their community, the secrets of plants and their medicinal values, and hunting techniques. According to tradition, the origin of the Kankurang is to be found in the Como, a secret society of hunters whose organization and esoteric practices contributed to the emergence of the Manding. The Kankurang is the guarantor of order and justice as well as the exorcist of evil spirits. As such, he ensures transmission and teaching of a complex collection of knowledge and practices underpinning Manding cultural identity. The central character in the Kankurang is an initiate who wears a mask made of the bark and red fiber of the fara tree and is clothed in leaves, his body painted with vegetable dyes. He is associated with circumcision ceremonies and initiatory rites. His appearance is marked by several ritual stages, commencing with naming of the initiate who will wear the mask, followed by his investiture by the elders, his retreat into the woods with the initiates, and the vigils and processions through the hamlet of the new initiates. The whole ritual generally takes place between August and September. The Kankurang always parades, surrounded by former initiates and the villagers who respectfully follow his behavior and gestures, and perform dances and songs. His displays are punctuated with a staccato dance as he wields two machetes and utters piercing cries. His followers, armed with sticks and run palm leaves, beat out the rhythm with their choruses and tom-toms.
Here's some more images of the Kankurang, the kangaroo guy, as I said. You know what I'm saying? These are some clear pictures that you can get a very distinctive look of how he's wearing his gauze. And you see the dyes and the time that it takes to put the outfit together. And, you know, he ready. Yeah, let's go. I can't play this one. Hold up, my bad. Now, the Mandinka are outwardly friendly and hospitable to strangers, but are secretive about some of their ritual life and belief in evil spirits. To Mandinka, a bat is as harmless as a chicken. That's a proverb of theirs. In Pacquiao, there are three villages known locally as the Triangle. These three villages are Dar Salame, Manconoba, and Sambandadu. When you hear the word Pacquiao, you think of these three villages. Informers describe the centrality of the villages in several ways. They were called the navel of the Pacquiao and the head of the liver. Another commonly used phrase symbolically identifies the village as the three stones of the cooking fire, which in women's cookhouses are always laid in the shape of a triangle. It is conceivable that religious symbolisms of the triangle derives from the historical prominence of the villages. Afanba Sagnan of the Makano Ba seemed to imply this when he said that Allah has favored us over neighboring villages. He added that in the 19th century, the villages formed a common defense against raiding and pillaging. Now, the Casamas River, the river's name is from the Mandinka meaning the king of Casas, as referred to as the kingdom of Casas encountered by the Portuguese explorers in the 15th and 16th century. The river is over 160 miles long from its mouth to the Atlantic. This river provides a vital source of fish for the Mandinka. Most effective means of fishing involves groups of 10 to 20 men. The river is not associated with any myths or legends. You know, usually in certain parts of West Africa, you may see the river be a part of any myth or, many myths or legends. This river is not. Rice cultivation, and you heard me mention that earlier. Now, in former times in the Casamas River provided freshwater irrigation to elaborate systems of rice paddies. That river works well for them to be able to tend to and cultivate rice, as you can see in the image of the women that do the work, right? They create these rice fields. They can do them year round because the river is always feeding. Clay pots. Now, the soil is rich in clay, and there are pockets of limestone in that same clay. Clay is used to make the pots, and the limestone is used for plastering houses. During the dry season months of March and April, soil is made in the brick. The brick are laid with a mortar made from the same mud. The houses are built in round or square design and roofed with a thatch. Pacquiao has 24 villages total. Some villages are small in size and as large as 3,500 people. And no, that is not the villages in the image right there. I meant to remove that. Now, Pacquiao is bordered on the east of the Fula people, which you heard me mention before, whose territory is called the Fuladu or Ferudu after the former kingdom. Elsewhere, Pacquiao is entirely surrounded by Mandinka who live in villages on the south bank of the Casamas and the Balmadu and Sunay, or however you pronounce that, and in adjacent villages of the Bodi, Jassin, Fason, and the Sonkodu. All these areas were non-Muslim kingdoms until such political systems were destroyed during the jihads of the 19th century. Speaking of jihads in the 19th century, I will be back one day, I don't know when, with a presentation to follow up the effects of the jihads with explanations behind the jihads to show you how Islamic influence changed the cultural paradigm of the Mandinka. Now, villages in the 6 former kingdoms bordering Pacquiao still refer to the area by the name of the kingdom. Also, I'm doing that presentation specifically to show people how Islam just, didn't come as peaceful as Lord Abba likes to say it. Now, administratively, Pacquiao lies in the department of the Sindhu, named for its capital. The department is divided into 5 districts. The head of the district supervises the census and tax, provides identity cards, and in some instances resolves disputes. Farming is an honored occupation in the Mandinka society. The Mandinka mix both Muslim and non-Muslim ideas in naming the seasons, months, days, and times of the day. In Mandinka society, the Marabout is an Islamic cleric who plays a major role as a healer and as a religious counselor. The Mandinka practice some form of Orthodox Islam. The Mandinka think of land around villages as concentric matrix. The village itself is called the place of houses. Mandinka think of lineages in terms of territory. Each lineage is led or commanded by the eldest male. A minimum lineage is referred to as a household and contains the houses of a man and his immediate family. Senu, or cross cousin, has an importance in Pacquiao society, not only as the relative who is preferred in marriage, but as a concept of alliance. To explain that a little bit further, cross cousin marriage is to keep the lineage in the family where it's not loosened or lost outside the lines. The separation of circular and religious authority in the positions of chief and imam is a fundamental of a village organization. Mandinka ideas about democracy and leadership are not strictly defined in terms of chief and imam. There is in the society a relatively influential person who could be called a self-made man. The power of elders. In addition, like I told you, you're going to see portions of what Kofi talked about in his book in here, but just using them in the Mandinka. In addition to the chief imam and Kanda, there is more populous class of leadership in Mandinka society, the elders. Both male and female elders have great rural authority. Some statuses, well, someone's status as an elder is an informal concept that grows with age relative to other surviving elders. One of the most visible privileges of the status among men is the right to sit with the elders' council. This is the group of elders who occupy the central place at all meetings. An authorization among elder women is the right to say prayer outside the palisade enclosure around the mosque. The authority of the elders operates because of the deep respect held by them by younger people. Respect is inculcated from an earlier age and is one of the most emphatic themes of the circumcision song sung by male novices during seclusion. The novices sing, for example, if an elder tells you something, you must never answer with disrespect. Women point out that a major objective of girl circumcision is similar to teach the novice to respect and to obey her elder. Ultimately, the source of the male elder's power can be traced to Islam, to this senior position in the mosque, and to his prayers do I believe capable of and death. One way the young men acknowledge his power is by giving alms to the senior men in return of a duel. For example, the students of Makono sought a duel by stacking firewood as alms inside the mosque enclosure. They asked the elders to pray for their success in the school. The duel of an elder may also have a dangerous effect. One youth from Dar Salame returned money he had stolen from us soon after the elders threatened at the mosque to have him rendered insane by the Manjak pagan. In Karatumba, a young man died for a similar reason. He had stolen, and the elders of the mosque had asked Allah to ruin his life. The curse allegedly caused him to go insane for 3 years and then killed him. Another image here of the actual elders around a tree, as you would constantly see in the villages. The dude in the orange looked like Dr. Ben a little bit. Now, Mandinka draw a sharp distinction between the sexes at the level of thought. Listen to this. Men consider women uneducated, pagan, and stronger than themselves. Their great strength is said to be associated with their buttocks and arms, which are developed through hours of pounding a pestle every day. It is also said that a man's strength is in his right arm and that a woman's is in her left arm. Men think of themselves as Muslim and more intelligent. A man's strength is associated with his neck and thighs. Men also think women like to make love too much. I don't know about all that. Now, women in turn think men are stronger and consider any mention of their own arms and buttocks a grave insult. They believe that a woman's left arm is more powerful than her right. They agree for the most part with the male contention that women are pagan, even though prayers are faithfully uttered by both sexes 5 times daily. Women in the Mandinka society are highly organized, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that the village positions such as a chief and imam operate within essentially male system and have little direct relevance for the lives of women. The dominant figure in women's organization is the circumcision queen, or simply queen, as she is called in Mandinka. Her power derives from her control of the women's ritual apparatus in the village. Her most significant ritual duties include covenanting girls, circumcision, and supervising the ritual itself and subsequent seclusion. The queen is usually the acknowledged village expert on washing the dead and the effects of the dead. She is a knowledgeable midwife, and the women consult her routinely for advice on health, medicine, and raising children. In contemporary Pacquiao, there are 3 castes. You have nobles, artesian praise singers, and slaves. The artesian praise singers category is subdivided into smiths, leather workers, and praise singers. There are 4 types of praise singers. You have the Fino and Joka, and the choral, and the balafon musicians. Now, yeah, I got through that pretty quick. In conclusion, the Mandinka are a Manding people whose oral traditions state that they come from Mali and are one of Sundiata's most prominent men helped establish their rule in Pacau. The village life was composed of several villages that coexisted, rather as many as 100 to 3,500 people. The caste system made lift fitting, although men saw themselves differently from women due to the influence of Islam. Women held unique stature among themselves. The Mandinka held up too many traditional beliefs, but still practiced Orthodox Islam. The Mandinka illustrated exactly what Kimoyo refers to in its exemplification. By tying the entire cultural existence together, whether it be farming, hunting, schooling, and secret societies, the Mandinka have illustrated an opportunity for us all to learn. Now, there were some sources right there for you. There go our branding right there for you. There go the team right there for you. And here goes some work that I have put together that is coming soon. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the women. I want to be more specific. So earlier I had talked about the queen, right? So the queen tend to be members of the artisan praise singers caste, even in villages dominated by nobles. In the 4 villages where these archaeologists did their field work, they concentrated on the queen. Here's what they uncovered. Now, and this is like generally speaking, queens are thought to be wizards capable of perceiving evil cannibal witches and of transforming into animal shapes to combat them if necessary. At least among nobles, it is thought that wizards are concentrated among artisan praise singers. This association may be one explanation for the preponderance of this caste among the ranks of queens. The queen's alleged power as wizard probably accounts most of her reputation as dangerous person. The queen's authority is quite visible during circumcision and is summed up well in song sung by the novices. My grandmother, you are the post in the middle of a lodge. During the circumcision ceremonies attended by the women of the village, the queen is assisted by a circumciser and by an informal entourage of elder women. Like the queen, the circumciser is often a wizard and tends to be from the artisan praise singer caste. On rare occasions, the queen plays the role of circumciser herself. Now, kinship is one of the factors favoring the emergence of a particular woman.
Hold on, son, what you just said?
Yeah, you heard me.
You said she circumcised herself?
No, she plays the role as the circumciser herself.
Oh, I was about to say, like, whoa.
Nah. She plays a role as a circumciser herself.
Put this GMO down.
Now, to add, the women in this role, they play a very important role. But as you seen, well, as you heard, because I don't know if many people saw, but as you heard, the men look down upon the Mandinka women because of the influence of Islam. Although they all play a sacredcy of one another and make the villages whole among these West African countries, you know, it's still that influence of Islam has a hold over the thought process of these people, and it's a sad day because the cultural distinctions are there to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. And in this presentation, I did this because I wanted to show those cultural differences and similarities and how Islam does have an influence on the people, whether positive or negative. In this case, in my opinion, is more so negative, but you still see, because this question was asked on Garfield channel the other day, could Kimoyo and these Abrahamics coexist or whatever? And this is the result of the reason why I said they can, but they don't need to, because the influence of ignorance of Islam on the men in these villages, and the women are not even allowed in the mosque. They have to pray outside of the mosque. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Y'all both Muslims and y'all, both doing these things 5 times a day, yet you have infused an ideology on you where pre-Islam, you didn't have these negative connotations toward women. But, with the influence of Islam, you now have these negative connotations. So that's why I said I'm going to do the follow-up presentation on the jihads that took place, because I'm going to show you distinctively how that affect the political structure of the Manding people, or the Mandinka, and how it erased or pretty much wiped out their own cultural influences on some of the things that they held once sacred to themselves. And I really thought that was key. But yeah, I'm going to get into it. The name of that presentation is the Pakao Jihad of 1843. And I don't mind telling y'all that because I'm going to get all the way into it. Now, what I didn't mention in particular, right, was some of the cultural nuances, like specifically the caste. I said it, but I didn't really break down the caste. So you had pretty much marriage, for instance. The 3 castes are rigorously observed endogamous groups outside of which is not ordinarily possible to marry. There are exceptions, however. In recent times, a few marriages have taken place between slaves and members of other castes. Now, remember how they see their hierarchy. They got these classes set up, which are also Muslim influenced, and then they allow certain things to happen between others. Now, you're hearing the word slave, ladies and gentlemen, right? We're all hearing this word slave, but you couldn't tell one person from the other who would be the slave and who would not be the slave. There's a clear distinction of what would deem one to be a slave, and it would be their tribal markings, in many West African countries. But I never really said that about the Manding, but I do know that tribal markings would deem a certain person a slave. Now, you got hierarchy. At least some Mandinka believe that the caste system implies rank. So the nobles consider themselves at the top of that scale, hands down. And most Mandinka also rank slaves lowest in the caste, which is, it is what it is. But some people have married slaves. Now, Mandinka are sensitive about this caste and rarely talk about it. In public villages, avoid mentioning who the slaves are. So this is why you couldn't be able to tell who's who in their society. And just to give you a little bit more about that, their residence places, they kind of do it this particular way. Members of the 3 castes are distributed unequally. A few villages in Pakao and Suna were founded by artesian praise singers, which is high on the caste list. And you might see them in their villages, you'll see them with large populations and spaced out areas, and a particular family having more control in that area. But in other places, you might see a least amount of people, but not so much more control as you would see in a higher class society. Now, occupation, everybody farms, tends to the land, out there fishing. The women doing, this is why they look at the women like that, because they feel like women doing most of the heavy lifting in the community. While the men out hunting, while the men out fishing and doing all of those things, it's the women that's beating the grain, just the women that's in the fields picking and planting. You know what I'm saying? It's the women that's cooking and doing all that, and they got them
What
kids.
people is this, Sean? You talking about?
Just the Mandinka people in general.
Yeah, that when you saying that, that just remind me that they still got that hunter gatherer style of living.
Correct.
When the men go out and gotta get the meat, and then the woman, they, like you said, they deal with the grains and stuff. So My question is, because I'm not, I've heard of Mandinka and all that stuff, but I ain't done no technical analysis or done no studies on them, so I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I know anything about them. My
Mm-hmm.
question is, uh, with that being said, these people, they don't seem to be like they made it to that second stage of agriculture. If they still, live that way where they hunting and gathering, would that be
Well,
a correct assessment?
well, today it would be different. I would say they have made those advancements based on the assessment of the archaeological evidence, and what I basically presented was a lifestyle that was pretty much, uh, in the around 8 to 1900s. Like, well, you know what? They have made some improvements, but they still are in that hunter gatherer mindset. You know what I mean? Because
Ain't nothing
they have,
wrong with it.
ain't because you're right. Ain't nothing wrong with it. It just it serves a purpose for them. But what I will mention to you is the fact that then there's Senegal, the cities are growing and places are developing. So, you know what I'm saying? They can go to town and and see some of those things that have technology has changed, and get out of that. But it's just like when we go to, for instance, when you go to the country, you feel me? Like in whatever state that you're in right now, I'm pretty sure somebody know the country. So when you go to the country, you got country living and you got city living. They pretty much, that's how they doing things out
Terminology.
there. Yeah. So when they go to the grocery store, they know they got to go for the whole like 2 weeks,
Right.
right? And they got to manage that. So you'll see more farming, you'll see more fruits, vegetables. You see more gardening going on in the country than you will in the city, because they ain't just predominantly relying on a grocery store. What they see in the grocery store is, especially with their fruits and vegetables, they can grow them in their gardens and be cool. You still seeing a mass amount of cows, like where I was this previous weekend. Man, there was 120 cows just out there walking up and down. You know what I'm saying, about 110 acres, eating old hay and dropping their heads in there and then and doing all of that. So you see that, and then you go around the corner, you'll see some horses,
Where
and
was you
and
at, now? That's see, when I hear something like that, I instantly think cash. If you
yeah,
seen that many fucking cattle, nigga, that's about 3,000 a cattle. That's about
yeah.
$3,000. Like whoever had all that, they got some money.
Let me put it to you like this: the cost of living in those areas for like a 2 or 3 bedroom spot, like $350, bro.
Damn.
So they show you how far in the country you are. Ain't
Yeah.
no, you got to go towns over to get to a Walmart. The nearest city to where I was Rome, not Rome, Georgia. I'm making a mistake. Athens, Georgia. Athens, Georgia was 45 minutes away from where I was at. I was
Damn.
I was I was real close, and Augusta is an hour. So if I went an hour and 10 minutes, I would be in South Carolina, pretty much. So, so yeah, so like that country living, that whole emphasis is still relevant and prevalent, which is a good thing. I mean, it's peaceful and quiet. People like they peace and quiet. They got some bomb tomato sandwiches and things of that nature. Now,
Tomato sauce.
I
Get
wasn't
the
in Rome.
heirlooms.
I wasn't in Rome, Georgia, Sutek. I don't know why I said Rome. I was closer to Athens. Huh? What you say now, Sutek?
Said you get you some heirloom tomato sandwiches.
Yeah, man. They got all of that out there, man. It was, it's quiet. It's always cool. They cooking whole pigs and all that, bro.
Yeah,
You know,
man. I never did
they,
get to eat that, but it's all right.
yeah, I don't eat pork, but they out
Yeah, I
there,
don't eat it. I don't eat pork either.
they looking at me. They looking at me like, what you gonna eat? What you gonna eat?
Right. Hey,
You
tell
know
them
what I'm
where the
saying?
sides at. What the sides?
Yeah, so that's all I got into it. You know what I'm saying? Had to go 20 minutes just to get to a McDonald's. You know, so it was like that. It was a real small town, man. And, they really ain't had no they ain't had no red lights, just stop signs and one flashing red light, one bank in the little town, a Dollar General, like 2 gas stations, and you know what I'm saying. Everybody knew everybody, but the whites lived on the right hand side of the street. If you're facing north, the whites will live on the right hand side of the street, and the blacks on the left hand side. They don't never cross over into each other lane, but they speak in stores and stuff like that. So it's kind of like that thick. You know what I'm saying? It's country. And when you out there and you looking in the woods and stuff like that, you think about all them people who ran away. You feel me? And they had to run through them woods trying to get away from the you know being slaves and all of those things. Like all of that really happened out there, and all of them you still feel that like it's the spirit of the well, when I say spirit, I ain't talking about what the breath. Let me say that the breath uh, of of slavery in its existence. And the houses are real small on some house sides, and then the houses is real big on other sides, and they're not modernized. They still like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, pretty much. I guess that would be modern for them. But yeah, I was out there in the sticks. But as far as the Mandinka go, man, yeah, they still stick to some of the cultural things that they actually did. Especially when you get going into the bush. But as far as with the cities like Senegal, with the expansion of those cities, some of those things are becoming less and less, relevant as far as their hunting gathering. But they still gonna do that because that's their way of life and that's how they cast and how they see things. But I just really think that the effects of Islam um, really did a number on the majority of this because they took all the power out of themselves and praised it and gave praises to Allah and what purpose Allah served. But the only reason that these people were even bringing up Allah is because of jihads. So yeah, I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna
Now,
get into that.
now you talk about jihads. What's that? Ain't that like when you? What is jihad? Ain't that like one of
Yeah,
the 5 pillars of Islam or some shit?
yeah. Jihads is what
You got to
Islam what
go back, right?
nah jihad nah. You talking about a Hajj. Now jihad is by force. They come in
Oh,
the village. Yeah. They coming in the village, right? Like if you let's say you non-Muslim, your village is non-Muslim. You got 500 people. None of y'all practicing Islam or none of that. They'll they'll commit jihad or a raid on you and your village. Come through, burn
oh,
it,
damn.
come through, burn it down. Come through, burn it down. Come through, cut your heads off. Do whatever they got to do. If you ain't converting to Islam, they ain't rocking with you. So they gonna take over your village. Now they'll enslave all the other people, and then if they accept Islam, they'll let them go. But I actually define it in that up and coming book, um, The Coming of Islam in Balad Al Sudan, and hopefully I should be done with that. I resubmitted my chapter 4 for review. So once I get my chapter 4 review, I'm going to be able to get all my ducks in a row and get that uh, reviewed again for grammatical errors and things of that nature, or misspelled words. Kind of clean that up, make sure my book flows properly, and then there's gonna be some daggers sitting out there for some people. So I'm excited about that, proud about that, and because I got both them books ready to go, I just need to get them, get some eyes and ears on them from other opinions. I've already got a couple, and then just continue to build on that. So yeah, man, I thank everybody for tuning in because like I said, I know somebody else that went live and people love the religious talk, but I just wanted to bring the culture perspective and identity to everybody and giving them a chance to just restore some culture, restore some West African culture back. I've been on a science kick, so I want to give y'all a little bit of piece of the Manding or the Mandinka people, and kind of go from there. Yeah, let's get down to lay down.
Yeah, that sounds like some straight gang banging or mafia shit.
Yeah, they've been doing it. Yeah,
Yeah, get
that's
down or
how
lay down.
that's how it spread. That's
You
how
gotta
Islam.
roll this rag, or your ass is gonna be dead.
Nah, man, but that's not how it spread. That's not people accepted it willingly. Islam came to West Africa in peace. Islam came to Africa in peace, according to Abba, and then his misrepresentation of Timothy Insall work.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. Well, I don't know. Let me try to structure this right. Um, did Islam benefit any? Did it give any benefits? We know the slavery or whatever. We know that. I don't want to say whatever either because it's a big thing, right? But it sounds like you were saying basically, if they don't get down, they gon' So did they give them an option, or did they just come in like, nah, y'all slaves and y'all, or did they like,
Yeah,
hey, you convert,
yeah.
then you know
Some
you.
people ran. They killed the ones who ran. If
So
you
my
ran,
question is like,
they
what
did.
was the benefit? What was the benefit, or was it any benefit to conversion? Like did
Well,
it benefit them financially? Did it make their living standards better?
no, I mean, some people would say it benefited the kings because it gave them the power to control trade in the area, but Muslims still benefited from that. I actually, the question that you're asking is answered in the book. So, yeah, I answered that specifically. But as far as a true benefit overall, nah, it wasn't a true benefit. You don't get no true benefit from it because you just had you had your culture taken from you. You've been brainwashed and then all of a sudden everything been removed, and then you got to accept this. But what what Africans do with these foreign traditions and customs is they Africanize those traditions and customs, and you're going to hear me talk about that too in the up and coming text. I mean, because I had to address that because what was the benefit? You see what I'm saying? You got people, you got romanticists in America saying it was peaceful and it was this and it was that. So we're gonna set out to answer all of that and show the corroborating evidence that exists, which I think most people ain't really paying attention to it because it puts them in conflict with their belief.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
What you
it
got on
benefited.
here, Sute?
I'm gonna say it benefited, but it had major setbacks because they had to get down to be a part of the trade lines, right? So that's one thing. I mean, Islam brought literacy. Well, I hate to
That's what I'm
I
asking.
hate to be a motherfucker that say that because it was already writing in West Africa, but so let me say it brought more widespread literacy, right? So, but like I said, they was on some get down and lay down type shit, and you being a Muslim is not gonna always save you. It ain't gonna always save you, and I talk about that in volume 4. So I'll just leave it at that for right now. But yeah, you ain't off limits now. Just like okay, the Italian mafia, if you a made man, that means you down with them. And nobody can touch you. It don't work that way for Islam. I mean, at least when they dealing with the blacks. But I'll leave it at that because I don't want to say too much before that chapter come out. I want people to read that chapter.
Yeah, you don't see some interesting takes, some interesting stuff regarding that. So Keenan asks, so it was just like Christianity. Yeah, you had Arabic missionaries. You don't hear about Arabic missionaries that often when they're mentioned as far as in history books, or if they're mentioned at all in history books. But you did have Arabic missionaries. You have to remember, and this is something that I've been trying to work on today. And I think y'all may have seen it on my screen where it showed like my outline. And I'll show this. This ain't no thing. I ain't gonna click on it because it's got some stuff in there I don't want nobody to see. But if you look at this tab right here, it says the outline, right? The coming of Islam in Balad Al Sudan. It's a Google Doc. It's who I've been like, that's a document that I've been working on with some people that's reviewing the work to, line my work up and check it out and all of those things. But when I was having a conversation yesterday, in this conversation, I found out that there is a renowned scholar in a certain lane or in a certain field that writes books. And I was inviting critique and cross-referencing in the introduction of my book. And they immediately pointed that out and says, listen, there's someone who makes thousands of dollars selling books, like big time, like New York Times style. And those people never invite people to do what you're asking people to do in your work. And I said, wow, like that's different. She's like, so she was like, you ain't got to invite that. A small person would do that anyway because they're going to flip to your bibliography and check your sources out. They're going to go to certain chapters and read it and do this, that, and the third. I got some good information on how some of the book was reading. I just needed to go back and redo chapter 4. Chapter 4, and I'll give you out the title of chapter 4. Chapter 4 is the role of race and slavery. The role race and slavery played among the Muslim world. And so we get into that.
He talking about Sabio taking. He said something about Sabio working on an Ottoman presentation that's gonna take 20 years. I don't know what he's talking about, but it sounds funny.
Yeah, Saruk. Yeah. He was working on something, so I don't know what's going on with that.
It's another dude that was talking about the Ottomans too, man. That be on here. Forget his name.
Alafiyani. I can tell you what some of the chapters are without naming all of them. The coming of Islam and the role of syncretism, the meaning of jihad and its use in Balad al Sudan, the roles race and slavery play among the Muslim world. I deal with Lord Abba's claim, did Islam come in peace? This is a response to Lord Abba. The spread of Islam meant controlling the trade. And then I got some other chapters in here and a bonus chapter in here that I put in here. And you gonna get this work. Who, though not you per se, but Abba gonna get this work. Abba gonna get it. The African American Islamists, those Asiatic black men, y'all gonna get this work. You are now in conflict with your religious belief.
Imam Bashir gonna be coming for your head, bro.
I ain't tripping.
Let's go. Where baby
the last time I talked to him, he got mad at me. He left Garfield's show.
He put out some bull. He's the romanticist. He's the one like really claiming that Islam came in peace. He brought up a whole bunch of sources from Sheikh Joe, a bunch of our elder ancestor scholars saying that Islam came in peace. It wasn't no different. They treat the black Muslims no different. A bunch of crap.
Yeah, so what we gonna do, y'all, is we gonna end the show over here, and we gonna crank up in about 3 minutes on Kofi Pie Side TV, and we gonna kick back and do a little after show. So if you're not subscribed to Kofi Pie Side TV, go to Kofi Pie Side TV and subscribe, and we should be popping up in your notifications with pretty much a question and answer and an open bill. So we're gonna have a look if the brothers got time for that. I know I'm gonna open it up for a little bit, and then we're gonna go on from there. All right. So on that note, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say Shimon Hotel, and look for us on Kofi Pie Side TV.
log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossi Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Haret Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Haret Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.